There are concerns in the education sector that ChatGPT could allow students to easily outsource assignments and cheat in examinations. Now, ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence chatbot developed by OpenAI, was released in November 2022. And since the release of ChatGPT, teachers and institutions are really struggling with assessment in the age of artificial intelligence. Educators are expressing alarm over the possibility of AI-generated text being passed off as original work, potentially leading to plagiarism and academic dishonesty. To discuss this matter further, we are joined by the University of Johannesburg Senior Lecturer in Historical Studies, Dr. Stephen Sparks. Dr. Sparks, great to have you. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me, Leanne.
So, okay, it's impossible to say that students are not using ChatGPT because it feels like everybody's using ChatGPT. However, my question to you is there a crisis brewing in higher learning institutions over the use of AI to cheat?
I do think so, undoubtedly. I would say that the measures that I would say I and my colleagues are taking, certainly in our department, are actually, I think, cause for hope. And I could talk more about those. But in general, it's a global problem, and it is undoubtedly a very serious one. And I think it's important for families, for students, especially for guardians and parents, to be paying attention to this problem. I'm not here to wag my finger. I think I have something like a solution. But I do think it's about the quality of our degrees and indeed about our workplaces ultimately.
Yeah. So let's have a look at sort of the perhaps those solutions you talk about. But first, obviously, ChatGPT and lots of other tools, because it's not the only one. There are so many, it's unbelievable. But for the interest of what we're speaking about, ChatGPT, when is it okay to use it? Because obviously it is something that everybody is using and turning to right now.
It's a good question. It certainly has its place. I wouldn't be, I don't believe in banning things in general. I don't think that would be necessary. Sometimes I use it, but I do not use it for research, my own research. And I do believe that one of the things that we need to be doing in universities is teaching students to find their own voices, certainly in my field, in the humanities and social sciences. And indeed, even more generally in the workplace. So if you think of Silicon Valley at the moment, they've brought us to this moment, and they themselves are now grappling with a problem, which is how do they know that the people they are recruiting are not using AI broadly, not just ChatGPT, in order to fool them into hiring people. And that is exactly the problem they have at the moment. So it's a very serious problem, even outside of the fields in which I work. And so I do think that we'd be foolish to pretend that this isn't actually a kind of very serious challenge to the way that we think about and indeed approach training people, training students, and preparing them for the workplace.
Yeah, obviously this is from school. I know that because, you see it's not only in your higher learning institutions. However, once you get to the higher learning institutions, I imagine that there is a massive uptick in this. But is there a way? Are you able, because they always tell you that, you're able to see if somebody has just taken this off ChatGPT and they haven't looked at it yourself. And what are the repercussions of doing that? So perhaps, is it easy for you to tell? And what happens if you find somebody has in fact used it?
At the moment, it's fairly easy to tell because there, as people have noted, there's a kind of flatness to the prose, to the writing, which is usually a giveaway. It's also, and this will make some people laugh, that is the truth, that sometimes it's grammatically perfect in a way that isn't entirely true for the majority of our students, and writes better than I do, actually, in terms of at least the sort of structure of sentences. But as far as what part of the problem is, it's a moving target. Yeah. It's constantly evolving as a technology. So then how do we keep up? And it's clear that at the moment we don't have the ability to do so. But there are tells, certainly. If you're found to have done that, the normal processes of dealing with plagiarism should apply and do apply. But of course, being able to prove is also one of the challenges for all the reasons I've mentioned. And so, in fact, that's why I've decided, and my colleagues in our department, and I know there are many people in other universities in the country, other disciplines, and elsewhere in the world, who are basically trying to just get a workaround, which is to return to in-person assessment in a way that was more typical before COVID.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would say that some of the problems we're talking about are not unique to AI. We already had forms of plagiarism with synonym swapping technologies, which each, are available freely on the internet.
Yeah.
So the in person, I think, is the solution. And that's indeed what Silicon Valley is doing for their recruitment interviews, because they've had problems with people basically cheating in a Zoom call when they're being interviewed for a job at the companies that have brought AI to us. They're returning to in person. So I think that's the solution.
Yeah. I think so. I think in a way that could possibly assist in a way. What about universities updating plagiarism policies or devising a set of guidelines to maintain academic integrity? Has this happened? Because students are using it. Everyone's using it.
It is happening, and it's happened and is happening. It's ongoing. I can say that because I'm part of these discussions at the University of Johannesburg. So on the ground, the conversations are happening. I do think that I don't think the extent of the seriousness of the problem has quite dawned on everyone. And I think it's good that these conversations are now happening on places like your show.
Yeah.
What I would say too is that I want to be slightly positive too, not about AI per se, but about what it has made us do, which is to think harder about what we're actually doing in terms of teaching in the classroom. And specifically, I can say that what I've done in the past, I used to just I'd prescribe text readings, and I'd hope that the students would read it. The honest truth is that wasn't always happening, and that's normal. But what I've done by actually increasing the amount of in-person writing that students do, rather than doing so remotely, they do so in class with me there. And by doing so, they are forced, if you like, compelled, I'd rather use that word, to read and to read closely, which is what the point of, certainly in my field, that's what university is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And then there's some accountability about reading. So in fact, I would say that the challenge of AI has made us think harder about our pedagogy, and in fact to improve slowly but surely the quality of the degrees. So I'm actually quite pleased in a way that this has happened. It is very challenging, but I haven't for years, Leanne, I haven't marked essays that have been plagiarized in any form, because I've been doing in-class assessments. Amazing. And in-person writing in particular, which tests the reading, that the readings have been done. And I think that is making a world of difference. And students are telling me they know that they're learning more than they were before COVID. Well, so I think that's what I'd like to emphasize, that this is actually an opportunity for us to think harder about what we're doing.
Amazing. Dr. Stephen Sparks, thank you. A short, quick chat about this. It's a big story. It really, really is. But I'm happy to see some of the solutions you're offering. University of Johannesburg Senior Lecturer for Historical Studies, talking about the use of ChatGPT to cheat institutions. It's happening. You know it. You've probably done it. But anyway, let's say goodbye.